Welcome to another episode of Make Mental Health Matter. If this happens to be the very first time you're watching, welcome. If you're watching for the millionth time, probably not the millionth time because I haven't had that many episodes, but it's been for a while. Thank you so much for coming back. As you may or may not know, I bring on guests who are either professionals or advocates in the mental health space or those with lived experience so that you can know and hear other people's stories, the journey, whatever they've been through as we this thing that we call life, and know that you're not alone in whatever you are experiencing or going through. And really, the ultimate goal of the show is to bring you people resources, share stories, and make that connection and see how you might be able to collaborate with the people that I bring on or how they might be able to help you. And really, we never know what we're going to go through in this thing that we call life. And so it's important that we find those connections. We also look to people that maybe have gone through similar experiences to know that we have a voice, we are important, and our experiences are valid. And there's a lot of people that want to help based off of what they've gone through in life. And if you've been watching this, you already know my story, but I am excited because I get to share with you other people's stories. And my guest today, I am very excited to have him on. So I'm going to share a little bit about him, his journey, and then he'll share a little bit more information too. So my guest for today is Randy Blake Jr. My mouth is going faster than my brain. But he is a distinguished martial artist and author, renowned for his exceptional achievements. As a 5-time world champion, he has demonstrated unparalleled skill and dedication in his field. His contributions to martial arts have earned him multiple inductions into Martial Arts Hall of Fame. Additionally, he is an international best-selling author, sharing his experience and inspiring others worldwide. In recognition of his significant impact, he has been honored with the prestigious Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. His remarkable career serves as an inspiration to many, inspiring martial artists and enthusiasts. So, without further ado, Randy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, I am excited. I know, like, before we went live, I was sharing that my son also does MMA, and he was really excited when I shared that you were coming on the show. So, tell the audience a little bit about your story and more than what that little glimpse that I gave.
Okay. Yeah, so I like to take guys back to the very beginning. And the reason is because you hear 5-time world champion, you hear these prestigious awards, presidential stuff, and the multiple Hall of Fames. You go, man, that guy must have had it just easy. He must have just had it all given to him, and that's probably the way he was born. But that really wasn't the case. So my story was just a simple 6-year-old young boy, just quiet, happy all the time, just enjoying life. I had a younger brother, both parents in my home. Great time. One specific day, I remember getting bullied. I didn't know what it was at that time, but I was such a nice guy that when this guy would do these specific things to me, I would just let it happen. So every day after school, this young man would come up to me and put me in a headlock and kind of rake my head up against the fence and punch me in the stomach a few times, throw me on the ground. At the end of it, he'd always make a weird noise, it was just a weird kind of hawking noise. And I just thought that that's the way life would be. So this went on for, I don't know, weeks. I don't know the exact specific timing, but it was a long time. My aunt picked me up from school one day, and she asked me how my day was, and she looks back, and there's this big wad of spit just rolling down my forehead, and she flipped out, and she said, "Boy, what is that in your head?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she says, "No, bend your head down." So I bent my head down, and yeah, just the spit just kept going, and she flipped out, and she told my mom, and my mom was kind of cool about it because she said, "Oh, well, he's been watching this karate movie. Let's just get him into martial arts." And my dad said, "Yeah, I'm going to get him a boxing bag." And so the movie I watched at the time was called Bloodsport. That's by Jean-Claude Van Damme, one of my favorite martial artists to this day, one of my favorite movies. The guy would kick and do splits, and he'd get all the girls, and he just always seemed like he was having a good time. But yeah, so I got into martial arts probably, I don't know, a week or so after that confrontation. And there's something about martial arts that it brings out confidence in you. So I had one or two classes, and I thought I was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And that bully comes up to me the very next time and tries to put me in the headlock. And I don't remember what I did, but the point is I did something. So in my mind, I thought I was doing Jean-Claude Van Damme moves, but in reality, I was probably just swinging and, just trying to react back. I did something back, and he left me alone. And so that was really my first aha moment, because martial arts brought that confidence out in me that I can stand up for myself. I can stand up to a bully and do something about it. And that was really the beginning of how I got to where I ended up today in martial arts.
That's amazing. I mean, not amazing that you had to go through that experience, but
Mhm.
really cool that you're able to recall the moment that it really shifted, your life shifted. And I think the skills, especially for youth, of being able confidence first and foremost, but then also being able to defend yourself. That's such valuable life skills to have. And so thank you for sharing the beginning of your journey and continue with, I know it probably just keeps going on.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So the way martial arts was for me, I was such a quick learner. So my instructor would show something, and I would get it the first try. And that's what really made me want to keep learning. I was always a practitioner in martial arts. But then there was a young lady named Nina who came along. And so in martial arts, you have what's called partner drills, which I'm sure you saw with your son. You partner up with somebody, and you're either doing moves on each other, or somebody's holding a mitt and you're striking it, or you're kicking it, you're doing something. So this young lady, and she was a very attractive young lady back then too. So I kind of had a crush on her, but the fact was she always beat me up in class in a very healthy way, because we would spar, and I was pretty good. But when I would get partnered up with Nina, man, she just kicked me in the head. She would slam me on the ground, and so as my confidence would go up, Nina just took it right back down. And so with that being said, I didn't want to do martial arts anymore. Believe it or not, I wanted to quit. I just couldn't take it no more. It was just something about getting beat up and humiliated to me in class. And so I have good parents. My mom said, "I'm paying all this money. You're taking your butt to class. You're gonna go. I paid for it. I don't believe in quitting. You're going to at least get your black belt." Then obviously my dad said, "Yeah, we're paying this money and you're going to go." So I went, and I just mustered up the courage to just keep going. But, Nina brought something out of me that it was that resilience. It's okay to get hit, you know? And these are some of the principles I teach in life today is you're going to have adversity. Adversity is not going anywhere. And when it comes, not if it comes, when it comes, you need to just fight back, get your hands up, throw back. And so those were some of the things that I've learned with martial arts back as a child, 6, 7 years old with Nina at the time, getting slammed in my back and getting kicked in the stomach, and the long drives home crying. But yeah, that was one of my favorite stories with Nina.
Yeah, I mean, so I had mentioned also before we went live, my son just got his black belt, and talk about resilience. You just have to keep going because it's not something they just hand to you. You really truly have to earn that. And the resilience of fighting again, not really fighting, but sparring. And then just keep going. And I think that's it's kind of, I hear what your parents like. I say that all the time. I'm like, we're paying a lot of money for this. Like, you have to keep going. It also now today is helpful with screen time and getting off of screen time. But it's such an amazing sport. Um, to build that confidence, the resilience. I know at least the school that he goes to, they're really all about the mindset and making sure that they're understanding different concepts of like getting hurt and getting back up again, or just all different types of concepts. So, not something that I thought my 8-year-old would have been learning, but all really great things. So, absolutely.
Yeah, in this time and day, we definitely need that. And like you said, kids they're so adapted to the screens, and it does something to you because it's very addicting, but martial arts, I think it's just a way out for them. It's going to teach them, confidence. They're going to make better grades. And martial arts doesn't actually teach you to become a fighter. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned about martial arts. It just teaches you to have great skills in life. It teaches you to become a champion in life. So you'll become a good spouse, a good husband, a good wife, a good person, a good high functioning person. You can go into your job, you go to colleges, you'll go to do great things in life from having that foundation of martial arts. Just learning simple principles of respect, honor, dignity, integrity, indomitable spirit, perseverance, courage, you name it. You're going to get that in martial arts.
Yeah, I indomitable spirit. That was one that we just had to learn the concept, and I was like, I don't even know how to say that word at first. So you say that, I'm like, oh, I know what that means. Ooh, pick me. But I just think that, I mean, through life, right? Like, we have these experiences that we go through, and whether it's our aunt, it's our parents, that they just keep us going even though we don't want to go. And then now translating into adulthood, and you continue. I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but the question that is popping up into my head is, I know mixed martial arts is kind of a combination of all, like, a lot of different modalities. Are there other practices that you have also done throughout your training?
Yeah, so my background is karate. It's just
Mm.
plain Jane American karate. So I got into kickboxing after high school. So what I wanted to do was become a basketball player, believe it or not. So my dream was to become like Michael Jordan. So it's crazy, I know, crazy. You see these commercials, you see this guy sticking his tongue out, jumping over people, doing slam dunks, just had this awesome smile. The kids loved him. Like, who didn't want to be like Michael Jordan back then? So I decided I was going to go and take on this journey and try out and do what I needed to do to get on my journey to become a basketball player. So I went off to college. I went to multiple colleges to try out to get a scholarship to play basketball. And I'd always get the word no, 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 no. And eventually I landed a walk-on position at a college, and it went very well. I earned my keep. I was on the practice team. It was just something about it that it just wasn't for me. I don't know if it was just the timing. I don't know if it was the college at the time. I just don't know. But I ended up dropping out. So it's not necessarily something that I like talking about, but I have to always acknowledge that, because then it makes the world titles and everything else later in life make more sense. So I got back into another martial arts school that just happened to have kickboxing. But they had a karate place or a karate class that I had went back into. So if I go back to my childhood, I was a practitioner, right? So I just loved punching and kicking. That was just my thing. It kept me out of trouble. It was just like video games to a child nowadays. Maybe they play Fortnite or Halo or whatever. That's what karate was to me. It just kept me out of trouble. It was just a way to kind of decompress. I was in my zone. So 19 years old at the time. I'm in this karate class with this instructor, and we're doing semi-sparring. So not like full contact, like full blown sparring where you can break somebody's nose, but you're doing just enough to kind of demonstrate the moves, the kicks and the punches and whatnot. Every single day, or after every class, that instructor would say, "Randy, please come try this kickboxing class." And I would go, "Kickboxing? Like, what's that?" And he would go, "It's a fighters class. Like the fighters who they get ready to fight, they get in the ring and they beat each other up." He goes, "You don't have to do all that. Just come to class." Okay, yes, sir, whatever. So it went in one ear and out the other. So this went on for like a month. Every single class, he would come up to me. He would say, "Randy, you are so good. Like you're sparring straight. If you would just come into this class, like you would dominate. You'd be awesome." I'm like, yeah, whatever. One last time, he come up to me after class and he said, "Randy, please, pretty please, try this class out. You'll come to this class. You can hit people, but they can also hit you. So you can know what it feels like to hit somebody, but also you can know what it feels like to get hit. And you don't get in trouble, because you get in trouble for like excessive contact in martial arts class." I said, okay, yeah, whatever. So I go into class. I loved it. As I'm in this kickboxing class with all these fighters, all these seasoned veterans who are preparing for fights. I'm sparring. I'm holding my own. I'm very young. And this instructor walks up to me after that session. And he says, "Randy, you did amazing." He goes, "I knew you can do it. I saw this in you from the day you walked into this dojo." He says, "If you'll stick with this class," he goes, "I promise you, you will become a world champion one day." And I looked at him and I said, "Okay, dude, this doesn't make any sense," because I'm thinking about Mike Tyson. I'm thinking about Evander Holyfield, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture. I mean, countless world champions in boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. And here I am, 19 years old, 6'3", maybe 190 pounds at the time. I'm like, what could I do to Mike Tyson? And but you know what? That was the best moment of my life, because had I not taken that opportunity to go in that class, I don't think we'd be here in this conversation right now. There wouldn't be any world titles. There wouldn't be any fights. I don't know what the heck I'd be doing, but that's really how I got into kickboxing. And several months later, I had my first kickboxing fight. I won by knockout. I mean, it was like 15 seconds. I mean, it was almost a parallel of maybe what could have happened when I first got bullied. It happened just like that. And that was like the beginning to the wild roller coaster in kickboxing for me.
Wow. That's amazing. And I like the transition of how it shifted, right? A lot of times as humans, we don't necessarily see what other people see, but eventually we get to the point that we're accepting and choose to go into another class, right? Which opens up this whole different space in our lives. And I do, so we're gonna go to a quick sponsored break. But once we get back, I also want to talk a little bit about, I mean, how that connection of, I know we've talked about bullying. We've also talked about your experiences and how you got more into it. And then I know that you also do more with youth and things of that nature. So once we get back from this quick sponsored break, we'll chat about that.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Portia Booker, and I'm your host of the Grief Grand Tour Show. Join me every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Vitality Network right here on E360 TV.
Hi, I'm Julianne Meyer, the host of Own Your Wellness, and you can watch my show on Mondays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific on Achieve TV right here on E360 TV. Remember, there's more to health and wellness than broccoli and burpees.
And like that, we're back. If you happen to be just joining us, thank you so much for watching. I am chatting with my guest, Randy Blake Jr., and we are talking about his experience as a youth being bullied, but then also transitioning into kickboxing and mixed martial arts, and really how that has transformed his life with everything, really. And so you had talked about how you went into this kickboxing class and it really started propelling you towards getting, well, really, so what pops into my head, I was like, Chuck Liddell, I love him because you brought up him. But all of these other people that you're like, how could I compare to them? But being in this space, and then you go into your first competition and you win. And so I know through all of this experience and the championships that you have won, you also have authored a book and really focus. I mean, the main reason why I wanted you to come on the show was also how you're helping youth with even like bullying and mental health challenges. So, shifting just a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, so on our last story, that instructor that, inspired me to do the kickboxing class and take on this journey, I actually never saw him after that moment. And so a year or two later, now fighting in front of Chuck Norris, I now get my nickname Boom Boom. I'm capturing world titles. So like my career really just took off fast. But come to find out that martial arts instructor committed suicide. And so like it really just, it makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up every time I talk about it. Just for the fact that, it's really uncertain that I don't know where I would be had I not went into that kickboxing class. And it's always amazing how, one person can see something in you that you can't see within yourself. Because I had no clue. I was just doing martial arts just to do it. Like it was fun to me, just doing kicks and punches and breaking boards and doing twirly kicks and, ranking up, and I always wanted to become a black belt. And then I found out that there was more to becoming a martial artist in the black belt. It was go get your second degree, get your third degree. You want to become a grandmaster. Maybe you can open up a school one day, but you get your name printed on your belt, and then you get the bars of the degree that you get. So all these things I wanted, I had no clue or any want to go fight and hit other people. That just kind of came with the territory. So with me now today, that's the inspiration that I want to try to be to other people who they probably can't see that within themselves. And so what I've done, I created a book, and the book came along in 2020 when the whole world was just shut down. We had nothing to do. It was miserable. I'm sure you've experienced, those situations too. I just happened to look up myself because I don't do that. I don't watch my fights. I mean, I watch my fights when my coaches want to, watch as far as preparing for a fight. But on YouTube, I decided I'm going to watch all these Netflix videos. I'm going to watch myself and just see what it looks like. And I was pretty amazed. But the one thing that I wasn't necessarily amazed about was the comments. So it made me dig a little deeper. So I started Googling myself, and I would find great articles, but I would find bad articles. And the bad articles were just made up stories. I mean, not to kill the time on the TV show, but it made me want to write a book. So literally the next day, I got the biggest punch in the face, but the most exciting moment at the same time, because I found out I was going to be a dad. So it was like a woohoo, like, sweet, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to do this thing. I was like super excited. But in the same token, I was thinking, well, it was my daughter. I did not know it was a girl at the time, but I was thinking, well, this kid is going to eventually grow up, have usage to an iPad or a tablet or a computer. They're going to type in daddy's name and watch videos and read all these articles about, nonsense. So I was thinking to myself, what's the best thing I can do that I can tell a story that's the truth and that my daughter could have? And that's why I wrote the book. But the book opened up more opportunities than these world titles behind me could ever have opened. So since I wrote the book, and I did the book for her, I didn't do this for it to get out there to the world. But since I wrote the book, I've sold thousands and thousands of copies, got international best-selling author status. It's won awards. It's got me multiple speaking opportunities to go into churches, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges, prisons, like literally going into prison, talking to inmates, like in the prison. Like, these people are calling me saying, hey, we heard about your story. We want you to come inspire us and tell us, how you got started and how could your story empower us to be better people in our lives. And so that's really what I'm doing. So when it comes to mental health, when it comes to suicide awareness, when it comes to bullying, all of that stuff is kind of the same thing to me. I'm going to use my story to help empower others. And that's what I do with it.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And a story is probably the most powerful thing that we have, right? It's our experience, and showing people that they're not alone no matter what they're going through is really impactful on lives, but then also being able to see it from different perspectives. And I love the fact that you took the time, which I know that a lot of us are like, I don't want to Google myself, and we want to control the narrative of what's happening in our life. And sometimes we can't do that. And that's okay. But we can also control what our family sees, and being able to put the truth out there, but just sharing our story, right? Like, this is what I went through, and wonderful that the book has opened up so many of these other opportunities. I mean, you and I met on a summit that we were a part of together. And when I heard you initially share your story, I knew that what you're doing now today and how you're helping youth, you want to be that mentor. You want to be able to guide through whatever, like whether it's bullying or being able to have that mentor in their life like you had. And unfortunately, your instructor took their own life, and that's an experience that you went through. And it's not fun by any means, but it also, now you're sharing your impact, you're sharing your story, you're being able to save people's lives because of the experience that you've been through. So thank you for wanting to make an impact on people's lives. And the way that it has come about is really amazing too.
Yeah. It's just been a roller coaster. It's always interesting, like when you do these surveys and you do these talks in school on what you want to be when you grow up, or where do you think you might end up in 5 to 10 years. That stuff is always so uncertain. Like I'm always in a state of gratitude, always. Just getting the idea to write a book, and then what it's done for me and what it's still doing. Now I can say that I'm in a state of being, because I was in a state of doing. I did kickboxing, I done kickboxing, I fought, I did all these cool things, right? And it always goes back to my martial arts background. It's not about becoming the black belt. It's about becoming the Grand Master. And so I'd even add on that you want to become the Grand Master of life. And so being a Grand Master doesn't mean that you can take on 30 men at the same time. And if you can do a 360 kick now, well, can you do like 45 spins, and can you knock out 1,000 push-ups in less than 10 minutes? No, what it means is you take your life experiences and the things that you went through, you make somebody else's life better, and get them further than you got, and make them better than you. And one person that I can think of who is a mentor in my life now is Buddy Thornton. We were on the summit together, and Buddy's probably never thrown a kick a day in his life. But what makes Buddy a Grand Master at life is the fact that he has all this knowledge. He's done so much with his life, and he still will come down to your level and bring you up to where he is, but he wants to push you and propel you forward further than where he's ever gone. And so to me, I'm living that through Buddy. And so now I know when I am in Buddy's shoes, that is my offering to give back to the youth and give back to the younger generation, because I want to see people get further than I have ever gone. I want you to get there faster than me and go further than me.
Yeah, it's so Buddy is eventually going to come on the show too. So luckily he's going to come on and share all his wisdom. And but I say that all the time with my nonprofit, is that I love giving people or helping them on the road to not make the mistakes that I made at the beginning of my nonprofit. And if I can share my knowledge of the nonprofit space so that you can get further and faster than I did, I mean, that I think is just so amazing that that's how you look at it too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the way of life. And like I said, I mean, it's me being in the state of being now. Like, I want to be the example. And it's not just about the kids. It's not just about, other aspiring adults that might see me. But now it's more so, I got a family now. I got a daughter. Tomorrow, I got another kid in the way, but we find out tomorrow if it's going to be a boy or a girl. So cross our fingers if it's going to be a boy, because girls are a blessing. There's nothing wrong with having girls. I love girls, and I think every dad needs a girl, because we want boys, but we need girls, because there's something about the girls that they teach us that you're not going to get from a boy, or maybe you don't get that from your mom or your dad. So I can go on and on about that, but I am excited about that. But really, it's me now in a state of being, so I can be the example to my daughter. So I can be the example to my, tomorrow we'll find out if it's going to be another daughter or a son. And then I can coach them to make them exceptional, high functional people, and they can go and duplicate and be better citizens than me.
Yeah. And I feel like as a parent, that's half the battle is, making them good citizens. But being the example, like you just said, I think is the most important part. So we're gonna go to one more quick sponsored break. But once we get back from there, I have another question that's popping in my head. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Okay.
I lost my middle sister, Kelli, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
Curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
Like that, we're back again. All right, so we were chatting, really your whole journey, how the mentors in your life have really made a difference. And then also how you wrote this book in 2020 that really was for your daughter. And as parents, we try to do the best that we can with the resources that we have and make our children be high functioning people, humans in this world. Sometimes that can be challenging, but also I think getting them into the right state of, you said, of being, right? Like being that person that they can look up to. And so the question that came up into my head, because you talked about just being that role model. And I know that throughout times you have had those role models in your life. And so now that you're kind of really shifting into more of this role model role, uh, I'm curious, like, what does that look like as you're talking about really youth and being that role model for them?
That's a really, really good question. Yeah, it's just it goes back to martial arts. Um, most most people, especially our disadvantaged youth, um, they'll probably never know what it's like to be in martial arts, and a lot of it has to do with it can be environmental. It can be they just don't have an instructor in the area, and more than likely, it's probably just because they just can't afford it. So what that will look like is just demonstrating and bringing to fruition of the principles that I've learned. So that would be me just giving back to them on saying, okay, these are the things I've gone through, and this is what's going to help me make you a better person in life. Don't make these mistakes. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but that's the beauty of storytelling. Sometimes we can tell a story and we can touch a heart. So really my goal every time I speak or get in front of, I don't know, 30 people, 100 people, 500 people, if I can touch one soul, that is all I care about. Because that instructor who committed suicide, I don't know why me. I'll always question, like, why me? Why did he pester me? Why did he corner me? What did he even see in me? Like, why me? Especially at that time. Like, I'm 19 years old, don't know what the heck I'm doing. Life is just so uncertain. I'm clubbing. I'm doing things I really shouldn't have been doing, right? And he sees these things in me that I can't see within myself. So me being on this side of the spectrum now, that's what I want to do now is I want to go into the heart and give that back to the community. So it's going to be all about respect. I think that's probably the number one thing that I want to give back. Another thing might be discipline. I think that's another lost art is discipline. Not knowing how to stick with something and stick through it and just grind through it. Having integrity, doing the right thing when nobody's looking. So just those basic things are or what I would say is what it would look like if I were to give back.
And so are you still fighting today or doing do you call them competition? That's not competition. What is it called?
It would be competition. Well, so that's a great question. Most people may call it competition. Some people may call it just a match, a duel, a fight. It might be the best way just to put it, because for the people who don't understand fighting, that's just all it is to them. It's just fighting. But to me, it was an art. So, like in football and basketball, you have plays. So in fighting, you have plays. So it's an art form. So you're opposing your skill sets on your opponent, and you're trying to exploit his weaknesses. But to answer your question on that, I do have one more fight.
Okay.
So, and then my fighting, I would say, like, and we're talking physical fighting, right? Like in the cage. Okay, yeah. So what I'm doing now with my mentor buddy, we've got our nonprofit coalition called Fighters for Hope. So that's my pivot from the ring of life into like real life. So I'm not just fighting in the ring anymore. Now we're fighting for mental health. We're fighting for suicide. That's the real fight now. Now, how can I bring those numbers down? Because I think we got to be at like 80,000 suicides. Is it this year or as of last? It's a lot. If you go from there based off of what it was in 2020, which was like 20,000. So it's went way beyond that. And that's really what I'm fighting for. But for me, I've got one more physical fight where I'm going to get into the cage. Actually, it's going to be a ring. We're going to finish up in the ring because that's how I started. So how I started in the ring, I want to finish in the ring. I don't have any dates on that yet, but hopefully we can get back on your TV show, then we can talk about, time, location, opponents, more details. And we were talking about coaches and mentors and all that. One of the things I've learned most about my coaches, my fight coaches, is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And so I use that in life, but I also use that in training too. So I'm still training, I'm still punching, I'm still kicking. And hopefully, as a visionary, as a person who can see things now, I would like to put a timestamp on sometime next year, maybe this time next year, a year from today. Actually, I would say a year from tomorrow, June 1st, 2025. So don't be surprised if it's somewhere in that area, but I would love to have you there. Yeah. If you can be there, and I'll do it one more time.
Awesome. Yes, I would love to know when specifically you're going to be doing it in the ring. And I love that you said, I guess for me, when I say fighting, it doesn't feel authentic for some reason. Because I know at least the mixed martial arts background, it's more competition. It's like it's a true art form. So I love that you said that. And then mention one more time, what is the nonprofit name?
It's Fighters for Hope.
Fighters for Hope. Yes. So if anybody wants to find you, what is the best place for them to go?
So I've got social media. I've got Facebook. Just type in Randy Blake Jr. I've got Instagram. You'll type in RB3 Boom. And then if you don't want to do any of that, you want to just check out my website, see what's going on, any updates on speaking gigs or what I have going on. Just type in randyblakejr.com. Bingo. And if you go there, I've got my books on sale. So if you order a copy, I'll personally sign it and I'll ship it out to you. I have merchandise there, Rise Above gear. And Rise Above is just simply you're rising above adversity. So in this case, you're rising above mental health, rising above suicide, rising above anything that's meant to bring you down and hold you back in life. So
I love that. And again, the website's right below here. Randy, thank you so much for all the things that you're doing. And I know you're making this shift. And of course, you can always come back anytime when you know more details, especially with the last fight that you are doing in the ring. And then as you go along this journey with Buddy and you guys really start to build the nonprofit and all the things that you're doing as you're shifting out of the ring into the ring of life, I would love to have you back on. But this was such an amazing conversation. And thank you so much again for sharing your story with the audience.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of Make Mental Health Matter. You never know what experience you're going to go through, that you can share your journey, your story with others and really showcase that they're not alone and that we all can have a mentor. You never know who's going to come into your life and see in you what you don't see inside yourself. I know that I have had plenty of those mentors throughout my life, and they have opened up this world of so many things, including my nonprofit and I could list on and on and on, but we don't have time for that. So no matter what, I would love for you to come back next week. Again, this airs every single Mondays at 5 p.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV and 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Mountain Time on Dream Vision 7 Radio. So whether you are listening or you are watching, thank you so much for being here. And I really hope that Randy's story and his journey gives you a little glimpse into that hope of what you can accomplish in this thing that we call life. And no matter what, I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.